setbacks, Pakistan is back at doing what it does best, playing dirty tricks. The level of delusion across the border is so high that an army general who was guilty of pushing the country to war and then losing it has been promoted. But beyond the delusion, what is important for India to note is the enemy within. Some motivated and bitter, others plain stupid and weak. Remember, recently 11 individuals have been arrested in India for allegedly spying for Pakistan. The arrests were made in Haryana, Punjab, UP, following a nationwide crackdown on espionage activities following the Pahalgam terror attack. Among those arrested were a YouTuber named Jyoti Malhotra, a security guard, and an app developer. The arrests highlight the evolving nature of espionage, where seemingly innocuous channels like social media can be exploited for intelligence gathering. Now, one would think, what information can these individuals possibly pass on? But when it comes to a war situation, every small detail matters. Plus, these people have been cultivated to impress upon even more vulnerable minds to push a positive image of Pakistan while degrading your own country. How best to deal with it? We'll take that to our guests in just a bit. But first up, in an exclusive news break, CNN News 18 has accessed the details of Jyoti Malhotra's interrogation, the testimony that will leave you utterly disappointed. Jyoti Malhotra has admitted to having met Danish, the alleged kingpin of this spy ring of the Pakistani High Commission in Delhi, when she went there to apply for her visa. Now, Danish and her exchanged numbers and used to communicate frequently. It was on Danish's instructions that she met Ali Hassan on her visit to Pakistan. Hassan not only arranged her stay and travel in Pakistan, but he also introduced her to security and intel officials in the country. Now, by this time, alarm bells should have gone off, but they didn't. We wonder why. She met Pakistani operators Shakir and Rana Shahbaz in Pakistan and saved Shakir's number as Jat Randhawa to avoid suspicion. After her return to India, remained in touch with them and frequently met Danish at the Pakistani High Commission in New Delhi. We are being told that she has confessed to all of this and more. Now let's decode the alleged Pakistani spy ring that's operating in India. At the helm of this alleged racket is Ehsan-ur-Rahim, alias Danish, the man that I spoke about, the Pakistani High Commission official who had reportedly been declared persona non grata and was asked to leave India within 24 hours on May 13. That had already happened, and subsequently all of these arrests have been made. Then comes YouTuber Jyoti Malhotra into the picture. She was in touch with him, as I already mentioned. Next comes Shakir alias Rana Shahbaz, whose contact was saved in her phone as Jat Randhawa. Now, investigators claim that Jyoti Malhotra shared photos, videos, details of sensitive information, locations in India with her Pakistani handlers. She also reportedly tried to boost Pakistan's image on social media through her online platforms, and that of course is plain to see for everybody. Now, there are 7 more people who have a direct connection as far as this ring is concerned. Let's take a look at all of these individuals. There is of course this woman named Ghazala. These arrests have been also made in this espionage case. They are reportedly from different handlers. 2 alleged spies have been arrested in Malarkotla, Punjab, while allegedly working for Pakistan. Now, this woman, Ghazala, a 32-year-old widow, visited the Pakistani High Commission in New Delhi in February this year to apply for her visa. Here, she met Danish again and began talking to him regularly. Danish soon persuaded her to switch from WhatsApp to Telegram, claiming that it was safer, and on the pretext of marriage, made her transfer funds as well. Another accused hailed from Punjab is Yameen Mohammed, who reportedly collaborated with Danish in financial dealings and visa-related activities. Devinder Singh Dhillon is a 25-year-old student from Kaithal, Haryana. He was also arrested. He allegedly shared information about India's military operations and confidential information about the military as well. Arman was arrested from Nuh district. Again, guilty or alleged to have sent military-related information to Pakistan via WhatsApp. Noman Ilahi, a security guard from Panipat, also arrested for allegedly sharing sensitive information with Pakistani handlers. There is Tarif from Nuh, He has revealed that he was in contact with two officials from the Pakistani embassy who reportedly provided him with SIM cards and asked him to take pictures of the Sirsa airport, for example. Investigations into the role of all of these individuals is ongoing. Now, top intel sources have informed CNN News 18 that the Kartarpur Sahib corridor has been abused as a strategic tool by the ISI to groom Indians. In its attempt to lure pilgrims, the Kartarpur Sahib corridor served as this ideal location or conduit for the Pakistani agents to trick innocents. The racket came to fore back in 2019 actually, when an Indian spy, Vipin Singh, was arrested on the charges of espionage. Singh was promised 10 lakh rupees for sharing Kartarpur corridor construction details and information related to the Indian army. Devendra Singh Dilno, the student that was recently arrested that I mentioned, was also allegedly recruited during his Kartarpur visit after being emotionally manipulated over religion. Then there's the recent case of Jyoti Malhotra, who was groomed by the Pakistani agents to promote a pro-Pakistan narrative on her YouTube channel. Coordinator Harkirat Singh was responsible to arrange Sikh jathas, and under the garb of the same, he used to introduce pilgrims to Pakistani officials. Once they met officials from ISI, the agents would then secretly click their pictures or record videos, which were later also used to blackmail and threaten some of them. ISI agents would even use recorded conversations to approach targets and exploit their emotional vulnerabilities. There's certainly no lack of such individuals. So, with this entire spy ring being busted and the Kartarpur link coming to light, the question that arrives in minds of most Indians is just how deep is this rot and what can we possibly do? Because between these two countries, over the years and decades, there has been people-to-people contact. We know a lot of Pakistani nationals have been found in India recently. So what is the cure for this rot? That's coming up with our guests.
बिल्कुल they were developing her as an asset और जैसे she was in touch with other YouTube influencers जो है जिसे कहते हैं आज के डेट में जो हमारे देश के और भी जो influencers उसमें भी टच में थे they were also in touch with the PIOs.
कभी नहीं पता चला कि वो पाकिस्तान गई है, 3 बार पाकिस्तान जा चुकी है ज्योति, उसके वीडियो हैं सबूत के तौर पे।
मालूम नहीं है जी मेरे को तो।
उसने कभी नहीं बताया वो कहाँ जाती थी?
दिल्ली जाया करती थी।
देखिए, इस संदर्भ में पूरी पुलिस तरफ से जांच की प्रक्रिया चल रही है और पूरे ही मामले को हम बहुत ही माइन्यूटली इन्वेस्टिगेट कर रहे हैं।
जिसने भी देशद्रोही लोगों के साथ किसी भी प्रकार की साजिश रचने का काम किया है, चाहे वो किसी भी धर्म से है, किसी भी जाति से, उन सब के खिलाफ कानून अपनी सख्त तरीके के साथ काम करेगा।
देखिए, बहुत गंभीर मामला है, इसकी गहराई से जांच करनी चाहिए। जो दोषी है उसको कड़ी सजा मिलना चाहिए।
Lieutenant General KJ Singh, former Army Commander, Yashovardhan Azad, former IPS and Special Director of the IB, JK Tripathi is former diplomat, and Surinder Singh Lali, geopolitical analyst, is joining us. Mr. Lali, why don't I begin with you? Do you think this entire rift that some in India try to create between the Sikh community and the rest of the country, do you think there are many useful idiots who are playing into Pakistan's game, particularly with this fact emerging that Kartarpur corridor could well be one of those things that is being abused by Pakistan to lure Indians to work against their country?
Thank you, Shivani. Such a pleasure and honor for me to be here. And, Pakistan is a country that is one big kabuki theater, if not a basket case. The entire country came into existence on their pathological hatred for Yud and Hanud. Yud being, the Israelis, and Hanud being us. So now, after a busted ego and many unsuccessful attempts to divide India, it's very unfortunate that they use Punjabis and Punjab. If you look at even now the 11 alleged spies, 9 of them, I think, are from Punjab. And Punjab was earlier until 1966. You know, Haryana and Himachal is also Punjab. So the Pakistanis in the deep state really uses a lot of. I'm not too sure if idiot is the word, because some of them can be young and vulnerable too, and they can be exploited for various reasons. And you know, on the other side, it's a deep, hardened state which came into the existence of trying to demolish India by any manner.
So you are saying
have
it's not just motivated individuals who fall prey to Pakistani's agenda. It is just naivety on the part of these individuals. What do you think is at the root of it?
You see, I wouldn't want to comment unless and until I know the case in individual capacity, but I could tell you about myself. I have been to Kartarpur Sahib, I have been to Panjab Nankana Sahib, and I've lived in the US too. So wherever they would see me, and I'm going to call my son young because I was young a few years ago too, so the Punjabi ISI will come and they will start to strike a conversation with me purely because Punjabi being a common language.
Yeah.
And Shivani, when partition happened, 65% Punjab went to them and 35% came to us. So they was always try and strike a conversation and then try and bring 1984 into it. Oh, 1984 wasn't good. It was an act of genocide. So what do you think should happen? So they would try and poke me and see that if I loosen up a little bit, if they're able to hit a soft nerve, then they might want to push in their narrative. Even when I went to Panjab Sahib, if you go to any of the Sikh temples in Pakistan, you have to register at the gate, and ISI sits at the gate. So they know where you come from, they know your age, they know your phone number because your visa copy and your passport has everything. So they even went to the extent of telling me 20 years ago that if you have a grudge against anybody in the system in India, I mean, their choice of words are far more judicious, we can help you build a narrative, or if you need anything of your choice by which they were insinuating to a weapon, we will have it delivered to you. This was back in the 90s when Punjab was, just coming out of the last stages of disturbance. So they do try and use the vulnerable Punjabis, the idiot Punjabis, the Deshtrohis. We can use a word, whatever comes to our mind. But please understand, it's the might of Punjabi army, the rogue Punjabi army, insurgent army, which tries to fish for such people who they can use to, in any way. I mean, maybe one of the things is they have a really busted ego from Bangladesh too. They keep talking about that too. So they try and find all sorts of people who they feel they can sort of, get under their skin, blackmail, do whatever they can do, so that their agenda of, the narrative of K2 or 1,000 cuts, however they can fit in the bill. Yeah. Thank you, Shivani.
No, I appreciate you accepting it in as many words and as many terms, because this is clearly happening. And Yashavardhan Azad, it's important for us to acknowledge this, right? If this is the reality, this is known to people in Punjab, clearly this has been happening for decades. One wonders what have been our attempts to undercut these efforts.
Well, we were aware that the opening of the Qatar Sahib corridor will definitely be a kind of a vulnerable option for us, in the sense that, you see, it's only 0.00% who fall in the eyesight trap. And this is a classic, tradecraft of intelligence, where you catch somebody's weakness, prey upon somebody's, areas, behavior. So that's there, but there is a kind of a pre-screening. I mean, in a democratic country like ours, you can't sort of officially screen everyone, but it is the job of the intelligence agents to see if there are many people who are going again and again, and people who are vulnerable, who can fall prey to ISI designs, but people who have already been cultivated and what kind of information they have been given. And therefore, I had suggested somewhere that there should be a kind of a briefing before the people go there, and a kind of debriefing when they come back, because it's extremely important that what is the kind of information. As you said, in some cases it could be naivety, but in some cases it is also due to lucre, it's due to some kind of pressure, it's a blackmail. So these are all, the basic things which the ISI utilizes. In fact, not only here, everywhere, all over the world, wherever the Pak embassies are there, they try to prey on, Indians who are weak, and try to illicit information of various kinds. So I would say certainly it has opened a window, but we need not be very, very scared about it because the percentage of such people is minuscule. Most of them are pilgrims, and some of them do cultivate it. And even in that case, it's not that they can give out some information which is so very serious. But yes, we have to be very, very careful about it.
Yes, and certainly these cases have to be seen very seriously. There should be serious consequences if you are seen to be helping anybody across the border. That, I think, goes without saying. An example has to be set. Yes, a lot of them are young. A lot of them could have been fooled, could have been turned because of naivety. But if you're an adult, your actions should bring consequences. But J.K. Tripathi, this brings me to the question of why, like, for example, in this case, there's a High Commission official who was caught at the heart of the spy ring in the national capital. Ordinary Indians wonder, why do we have these diplomatic relationships with Pakistan, which have recently been curtailed post-Pahalgam attack? But why do we continue to have them till now? And even now, there is a presence maintained as far as the diplomatic relationship is concerned. To what good end?
Well, Shivani, good evening to you and all my co-panelists. In fact, breaking the diplomatic relation or severing the diplomatic relation totally is the last recourse, and generally it is done when there is a war between the two countries. Otherwise, it starts with the thing that first you downgrade your relationship, diplomatic relationship, like we have done in 2019 with the Pakistan. We have recalled our ambassador and we have sent their ambassador back. Then again, some more senior officials were recalled, and then now with Pakistan's many more officials, their defense attachés, etc., have been sent back by giving persona non grata. So in international politics and diplomacy, these are the gradual steps which send the message: how much do we care about you, about the neighbor? And that's why we always try to have a relation, have a diplomatic presence, howsoever insignificant, but it should be there, because as they say in military, similarly in diplomacy, there should be at least one channel of communication kept open. So with that dictum, with that action, what happens is we have to have diplomatic relations. Even if we don't have diplomatic relations, we have relations other way around. Like say with Afghanistan, we have not recognized Afghanistan, but we have relations with Afghanistan. We have not recognized Taiwan, but we have relationships, not diplomatic, but otherwise trade relations in the name of trade.
But those relationships help us in some ways. My question is that, maintaining these ties with Pakistan, even now after Operation Sindoor, what good purpose is this serving? I mean, look at what's happening in Pakistan. They're celebrating a military win over India. They're promoting their army general to field marshal.
See, Shivani, that is altogether a different subject. They are giving a wrong narrative to their awam, to their public, to their populace, just to show them that we are, how important we are, that we are saviors of the country. That is another thing. But then, if you don't, even if you don't have relationship, you don't have information, first-hand information about that country.
Right. Okay.
Because if you have, it is not a case of espionage, but if you have any other member, at least they are the person on the ground who knows what is going on in this country and how things are turning.
Okay, fair enough.
That is why at least minimum presence, bare minimum presence also is required in any diplomatic mission, except for in cases of war, when all the records are either dispatched or destroyed, embassy is closed, and some other country is given responsibility to have the bare minimum required diplomatic communication with the country, with the host country.
Right. Lieutenant General KJ Singh, I want to come to you as well. What do you think could be an appropriate solution to ensure that young citizens of India, for whatever reason, whether it's greed, whether it's, grudges against your country, whether it's being motivated for all the wrong reasons in life, a personal relationship, personal affinity that male or females may, begin to grow, whatever may be the reasons, what do you think could be an appropriate solution for the young generation to make them understand the pitfalls and the dangers of these communications across the border?
Shivani, Jai Hind, and thank you for discussing such an important issue. The first thing is that you have to maintain visa and consular services because passports are valid. People have to travel. Like in this case, the lady who's been nabbed from Malerkotla had to travel. She had relations on the other side. And invariably, Shivani, it is a joke. And Yashovardhan and Tripathi Saab would know that the visa counselor is a man who's from ISI because he comes maximum in contact with people who have needs. And that's how they cultivate. This is how it is done. Now, coming to your question, see, like Mr. Yashovardhan was trying to bring out, about 80% people get caught in a naivety kind of a situation. They're not giving very critical information. But the game of cultivating a spy is let him get a useless information, but make him dependent on yourself initially. And when the person becomes dependent, then give him responsibility or give her responsibility, which is critical. In this case, there is a Sirsa base, Air Force base. There is Hisar military station, which is the second or third largest military station. I was General Officer commanding over there. We have very frequent cases of spies being caught from that area. And what I would like to suggest in response to your question is, like Mr. Azad was saying, that before going, brief a person. After coming back, again debrief the person. And also, like a counselor, be available. Sometimes you may make a mistake. You may take some money. So it is good to go back to the police person who will educate you. Okay, you have only given this much of information. It is nothing. Now stay clear of it. Because it is like treating a drug addict. You have to rehabilitate the person. Like they always, if you remember in the Islamabad High Commission, there was a lady who was there. Now that lady was a spinster. She had not found a partner. She was a translator. She used to translate Urdu to English. Now, ISI found vulnerability in her need for a companion. So they charged a spy to do this. In this case, this YouTuber probably got trapped. And see, where it is even more dangerous is she is kind of an influencer and role model. There's another YouTuber in Orissa who was trying to follow her.
Yeah.
So all this is sensitive. But I will go along with my fellow panelists. There is a need for us to not panic and close Kartarpur corridor and all this, but remain sensitive to few people. And even if they make mistake, hold their hand so that rehabilitate them early.
I understand what you're saying. Yes. No, but you raised an interesting question. I think you're talking about the former MEA staffer who was a big sensational case a few years ago of Miss Gupta, who a sensational case of being a Pakistani spy, and you talked about her vulnerabilities. But yeah. Well, her story is very much in the public domain. But KJ Singh, Lieutenant General KJ Singh, before I bring in Yashovardhan Azad as well, in fact, just hold on your thought because I want to take this to Mr. Azad. People with these obvious vulnerabilities, personal, emotional, physical, otherwise, I'm just wondering, is there no proper vetting that happens before they are assigned in critical installations?
Well, it happens. I mean, in many cases, this is one odd case, right? And this has happened in many cases all over the world that people with some personal issues get posted and then we have to suffer later. In this particular case, this is exactly what happened. In fact, the other case which I wanted to talk about is also that YouTuber you're talking about. I'm talking about Jyoti Malhotra. See, in such cases, the dangers are even more because you see, the social media today and the handles have no limits.
Yeah.
And therefore, inadvertently, I'm not saying in the beginning that it's meant to be that way, but the kind of information which is shared so loosely, like you're traveling to Sirsa, you're traveling to the vital installations and you're giving, you see, today's world is of information warfare. There are no foot soldiers who are going across and, clashing with swords. So the more information you have about the other country, that is your power. And that's why, while satellite imagery might give you the locations, etc., but the inner details are provided by these irresponsible people who are there. And therefore, as General very rightly said, these weaknesses which you prey upon, when fame comes to you very, very easily, you're very, very vulnerable. An invitation from a Pakistani embassy, you think perhaps you have reached the heights, and then one thing leads to another. And then, from naivety, it becomes to a kind of a collusion when there is more money, when there is more, a different kind of lucres which you get. And therefore, it is difficult to put guardrails on social media. I understand, except for the rules. But a kind of an awareness by the civil society, by the government, is something which I would advocate in these particular cases.
When you talk about awareness, Mr. Lali, I also think that this whole Aman Ki Asha Brigade has played a certain role as far as brainwashing the younger generation is concerned, where a lot of them seem to be in love with Pakistan. Now, I'm not suggesting you should hate Pakistani people. Hate is too strong a word. But, it's only someone who's actually brainwashed to a certain extent who goes to Pakistan and fawns over Pakistan.
Yes.
Shivani, I've been twice on those Aman Ki Ashas to Pakistan. It's a very mixed bag. The ISI there uses the Punjabiyat as a tool to sort of, get dissolved with the other good people in Pakistan. Let's understand, I'm not going to say that all 25 crore of Pakistanis are spies and they want to break India. I've met people there otherwise too. But somewhere you have to understand it's the might of a country, a 25 crore nation which has, for their pathological hatred for Hindustan and Hindus, is trying to find and source people who are vulnerable. And in any country, there will be people in democracy who will be disgruntled with the government for reasons best known to them.
No. I'm not talking about disgruntlement. Mr. Lali, this is not about what Pakistan is trying to do. My point is, why do young Indians fall for it? There must be an innate lack of understanding of what we are dealing with, or brainwashing of a certain amount, which makes them feel, we are all brothers, what are borders for, let, love flow and rivers flow. It is that mentality. I don't understand how an adult YouTuber can otherwise fawn so much about Pakistan while visiting them. What is the attraction? And there are others who degrade their own country while comparing India and Pakistan. That's delusion.
Giovanni, let's understand one thing. We're all somewhere vulnerable. I mean, each one of us is, the threshold might be different. So it is people who are hardened, agents who find your vulnerabilities. I mean, I don't think, Shivani, there's anybody on the face of earth who's absolutely non-vulnerable. I mean, then you're probably furniture or a piece of stone. It's just that these people might go through 1,000 people and they might find their 2 or 3 who they're eventually able to convert. Because we all have our weaknesses, Shivani.
Fair enough. I'm just saying maybe it's time that the younger generation should be made aware of the phenomenon called Pakistan and not, treated like any other country, because it isn't. They need to be aware of that. Lieutenant General KJ Singh, very quickly, what about the prominent names of the Sikh community? Should they not come out and speak more openly? Because we've got sections of the Sikh community, unfortunately, who keep making excuses for Pakistan. Look at about, for example, the attempt by Pakistan to attack the Golden Temple.
Yes. See, Shivani, if you go to border areas today, they are running langars. They are giving them sugarcane juice. They are cooking for those people, giving up their own occupation. So there is nobody over there. I have been to those villages. Yashovardhan Azad ji would bear me out. They tell us, हमको नहीं चाहिए, ये संताप है. We don't want this. They use this word. So this Khalistan thing is in 4 inches in their forehead of some people who live in USA, Canada, and such like countries.
No, there are Sikh organizations in India who can be accused of playing a dirty game.
One second, your opinion that our clergy, our religious leaders must come out and speak for this. Because after all, they should wean these people away. Imagine this girl, she is so young. If she had got correct kind of advice, she would have made a name for herself. Her life is ruined.
Yeah. Yes, Mr. Azad. Mr. Azad, I have 30 seconds left. You wanted to say something.
Yeah,
yes.
I just have a few points. I've been to Pakistan 7-8 times and been all over from Peshawar to Karachi and all these. See, 2004 was an amazing time, a golden era of diplomacy when the team went. And again in 2008, you had Mumbai. So Pakistan today is like an enemy state. There are 3 Pakistans. One is the elected government, the other is the ISI, third are the people. We have to differentiate. And that's why people who go from here need to be briefed properly. There were thousands who crossed over in 2004 and ISI was trying to cultivate them over there. So this is a regular exercise. Against this, we have to keep a watch. And regarding Punjab, I agree with the general. In every village in Punjab on the border, they have left their own houses and they have opened it for the army. So things are different. This is a minuscule minority which is trying to promote anti-India feelings.
Well, I hope at least people in position are not given the free pass to do this. Ordinary individuals otherwise, but those in positions of power have the influence over several others, thousands of others. But I'll leave it at that. Gentlemen, thanks a lot for joining me and for this enriching debate. In an exclusive ground report, let's also bring you what my colleague Akash Sharma has sent us. He has gone to the front line in the heart of the defences of the Indian Army and at the international border, locations that bore the brunt of the intense cross-border strikes.
I'm standing in one ceasefire violation bunker. This is CFB bunker that is generally used when a lot of firing is happening from the other side, and you need to protect yourself as well as your gun position too. I'm showing you the visual where you are seeing these personnel from Indian Army taking position on this gun and in fact are all set to retaliate to the sort of fire that can come from the other side. In fact, I have Colonel Saab with me. I'll try to ask him on the use of this bunker, why it is useful and how it helped during the Operation Sindoor.
This is CFB bunker, so we call it ceasefire violation bunker. It is different from the other bunkers because during ceasefire violation, what happens, there are shelling, there are bombs which are coming all around. So the moment if this debt has to move out for the whatever things like for their natural call or for the other things. So this bunker, and to take rest also. So this bunker should be having that kind of accommodation capability that for 24 hours, let's say this debt is firing on this weapon. So then the another debt comes and then take place of these this debt. And this debt is taking rest within this bunker only and then he is not moving out. So that is the purpose of this CFB bunker, so that there is no movement in open.
थोड़ा सा एक्सपीरियंस अगर उस टाइम का बता पाएं जबकि फायरिंग लगातार हो रही थी.
दुश्मन ने सीज फायर वायलेशन की शुरुआत तो कर दी, उसका जवाब हमारे सेना ने क्रोध और आक्रोश के साथ दिया. हम 24 घंटे नहीं, हमेशा के लिए तैयार रहते हैं. हमारी ट्रेनिंग, हमारी सिखलाई और हमारा डिफेंस इस प्रकार है कि दुश्मन को हर हालात में हम उसको मुंह तोड़ जवाब दे सकते हैं. हमारी अगली पलटन जो भी आएगी, हम अपने एक्सपीरियंस को शेयर करेंगे, जिससे उसको आने वाले समय में उस अनुभव का बहुत लाभ मिलेगा.
Moving on, let's also get you the second big story that we're tracking. Calcutta High Court appointed panel has found that local police were inactive and absent during the Murshidabad mob violence that hit the state of West Bengal in April following protests against the Waqf Amendment Act. Involvement of local TMC leaders and targeted attacks on Hindu homes has been established. Significant damage has been reported, including the destruction of 113 houses in Betpona village and the looting of shops and malls. The violence had led to the deaths of Hargobindo Das and his son Chandan Das, who were stabbed by neighbors amidst the unrest. Let me just break down further the horrific details of the planned violence against Hindu families that has come to light. As I mentioned, a total of 113 houses in Betpona severely affected. Local police were completely inactive and absent throughout the initial part of the violence. Shopping malls were looted, grocery stores, hardware shops, electrical, textile outlets, along with essential personal documents were destroyed. Temples belonging to residents were desecrated and destroyed as well, and we've brought you those exclusive reports on News 18. Kerosene oil was used to burn clothing, and in some cases, women left without clothes to cover themselves. The barbarity of the violence was such that even water connections were deliberately cut by miscreants to prevent the extinguishing of fires. Local councillor Mehboob Alam reportedly accompanied the miscreants on 11th April. A man named Amirul Islam returned to the village, identified houses that had not been attacked yet, and returned to set those houses on fire. The MLA of the area was present on Friday, witnessed the vandalism but did nothing to stop it. With police completely failing, the people of Murshidabad, the residents have demanded permanent BSF camps and deployment of Central Armed Forces. In fact, the report also states the majority of the residents who had taken shelter in Malda were forcibly sent back by the police administration. With all of this coming to light, and frankly, not much of it is surprising anymore, but the TMC men's role that has come out, will Mamata Banerjee finally act? That debate is coming up.
প্রথম কথা আমি তো গন্ডগোলের কাছেই ছিলাম না যে গন্ডগোলের কথাটা বলে সেটা বেদবনার কথা
मुर्शिदाबाद लेकर बीजेपी डार्टी पॉलिटिक्स कर रहे हैं
पश्चिम बंगाल की तृणमूल कांग्रेस सरकार की हिंदू विरोधी निर्ममता अपने पूरे विद्रूप रूप में सामने आती हुई दिखाई पड़ रही है।
जिन जिन लोगों को जिम्मेदारी देकर जनता ने वोट कर कर वहाँ पे भेजा है, अगर वो ही आग लगाने में उन्होंने हिस्सा लिया है तो उन पे कार्रवाई होनी चाहिए। मैं उम्मीद करती हूँ मुख्यमंत्री होने के नाते वो बाकायदा इसकी कार्रवाई करें।
वहाँ कहीं न कहीं कानून व्यवस्था में जो गिरावट आई थी उसके लिए प्रदेश सरकार जिम्मेदारी से बच नहीं सकती।
Joining me on the show, Shatarupa, spokesperson of Bengal BJP, Shabnam Dey is a political analyst, Shikha Mukherjee, senior journalist, and Pratim Ranjan Bose, senior journalist, both who track Bengal politics very closely. I do thank you all for your time. Shabnam Dey, what more will it take for the TMC to realize what they have unleashed on the Hindu families in Bengal? What more? Ms. Dey, can you hear me? We seem to have lost that link. But anyways, let me take that to our other political representative. Shatarupa, are you surprised at all with the details that have come out?
No, not at all surprised. In fact, I think I had another show with your channel where we had categorically said that it was your cameras which had said that, Hindu houses were specifically marked. And like you said, somebody came back 2-3 days later and identified the houses which were not burned. Now, the names that have come to the open are the names that we have been maintaining from the very beginning. It is singularly the Chief Minister's statements over several years her complete denial on the several Muslim ministers' comments, and finally her comment on Eid, where she stood on a religious forum and told the Muslims that go ahead, do whatever you want to do. Didi is with you. So the next thing that we see is the Murshidabad. Mamata Banerjee likes calling it riots, but they were not riots. Riots have to happen when there are two communities which clash. Here, the Hindus it was a planned pogrom. They were attacked, they were chased out of their houses were singularly marked. And like you have already said, I don't want to get into repetition, but they had to shift to one part of West Bengal to the other part of the West Bengal. Their plight didn't end there. You have the urban minister saying, urban development minister, Firad Hakim, saying that how does it matter?
It's one place in Bengal to another place in Bengal.
Yes, right. Now, I want to come down to very specific things since you're already showing that on the screen. Police vehicles were burned. Police stood by for about 4 to 5 hours and waited. Why? Because it was entirely, orchestrated. There has been a footage. I think I've done a show on your channel pointing that out. That a councillor, I don't remember which of these. I think Amirul it was. He was, seen talking on the phone, constantly giving out instructions. This is the way to burn, and that is the way, or whatever he was saying. I'm not very sure what. Now, if the police didn't respond for 4 to 5 hours, it was the BSF which had to be brought in. BSF responded immediately. Now, the chief minister and her cronies, you just showed a footage where Kunal Ghosh has been blaming BJP. Number one, our state president has very candidly said BJP does not have an organization strong enough in Murshidabad to create mayhem like that. Now, having said that, we are seriously and very categorically blaming the state administration led by the chief minister, and the names that you have mentioned are all Trinamool party people, local representatives, elected representatives.
And many of them are roaming free. I'm just shocked.
They are all roaming free.
Even today, after the report details have come to light, they're all roaming free.
That's right. Yes, that is the way it will be in West Bengal, because the chief minister is in complete denial. She doesn't believe that any of her Muslim cronies can even lay a finger on the Hindus. This is, in the history of Bengal, possibly the most obnoxiously anti-Hindu government that Bengal has unfortunately been made to witness.
Shabnam De, I was asking you earlier, what more will it take for Mamata Banerjee to realize that you've bred snakes in your backyard and they will bite you, as has happened in this case? You can't control them anymore.
It is the sinister plot to defame West Bengal government, because outsiders were involved in these West Bengal riots that Murshidabad.
That's not what the report says. I'm sorry. That's not what the report says. This is a High Court mandated report.
The investigation
you have not. TMC has not presented any evidence to suggest this.
See, TMC already has stood by the side of the central government in Operation Sindoor also. So solidarity shown by...
No, that has nothing to do with this, madam.
All the parties. Diplomatically, this also, not only that Mamata Banerjee is intolerance of any sort of terrorist activities or sort of violence in Bengal. Bengal is safe because our CM is always awakened and taking strict vigilance.
I'm sorry to say, the chief minister in most of these cases doesn't even visit the victims.
She didn't visit, that's right.
She doesn't even go to the victims' houses.
General Secretary.
More than 100 houses of Hindu families
She
burned.
has already visited Murshidabad.
After how many days?
She has already visited Murshidabad.
After how many days, ma'am?
She had an interaction with other Hindus and Muslim every section.
Yeah, and then she went on to a gathering of Muslim clerics to blame others for the violence that the Muslim community perpetrated on Hindus. I'm sorry to say, what is so hard to understand about this? What is so hard to accept about this?
No, nothing is that a Muslim perpetrated. See, you can see that there is also a spy of Hindu spy with
Ma'am, please don't
intelligence connivance with
conflate. Please
Pakistan.
don't conflate both of
There
these
also.
stories. Please
So
don't.
so
In
you
this
can
case,
understand that Hindus and Muslim it will not do.
Shabnam
There is
Dey,
no
in this
political-
case, it was a protest, so-called protest in the name of Waqf
Political
Amendment
polarized
Act.
already.
These are districts we're talking about with high Muslim populations. Local elected leaders are all Muslims. They have been seen on spot, named in the High Court mandated panel's report. Hindu houses have been specifically marked and attacked. Are you seriously trying to fool the country into thinking that religion played no role here? Temples have been desecrated. For what reason? To protest Waqf Amendment Act. Shatarupa wants to come in, then I want to go across to our other two guests as well.
I just want to give a quick reminder here. I mean, I don't know what Shabnam understands of local politics, but you remember, rice is a very sentimental thing as far as Bengalis are concerned. Many of the women have been crying that we were cooking rice, that rice has remained uncooked, and they had to flee, like you have already said, they had to flee often without any clothes. They grabbed whatever they could to wrap themselves up. They've been crying and pleading whoever has gone and visited them, whether it is the governor of West Bengal, whether it is the two commissions, that do not remove the BSF camps. That is the amount of faith that the Hindu population in Murshidabad have in.
No, absolutely. This has happened before, and these are subsequent stories coming to light now, Shikha Mukherjee, where you can't really isolate one from the
Bangladesh.
Sorry, ma'am?
Border of Bangladesh.
Yes.
That is the border of Bangladesh and border of India. So Bengal. And why the people who are staying just on the borderline of Bangladesh.
Yes.
And Bangladesh only intruders did.
No, I'm sorry. There's no evidence to suggest the same. I'm sorry. There is no evidence to suggest the same. This is a conspiracy theory that is being mounted. No, I'm sorry. This is a conspiracy theory being mounted by the TMC only to abjugate your responsibility as the party in power. These are absolutely cock and bull stories that Bangladeshis came, or people from UP came, people from Bihar came. This is an excuse that is given every time. We will believe what the fact-finding team is telling us unless you provide contrary evidence to us. Shikha Mukherjee, I want to come. Ma'am, one second. Shikha Mukherjee, in the aftermath, just 1 second, ma'am. In the aftermath of this violence, even TMC leaders were left a little dazed because possibly they realized they can't control what is going on in certain sections of West Bengal. There were appeals being made by TMC elected members for Muslim mobs to stop. Do you think time has come for Mamata Banerjee to understand that these are, as I said, snakes in your backyard that you've bred and they're out of your control?
I think Mamata Banerjee does seem to have taken some note of this. And the reshuffle in her party, especially in Murshidabad district, where she has sacked the president and appointed a core committee to look into matters post the violence that we are talking about, I think that is an indication that Mamata Banerjee has read the message loud and clear. That things are not as much in control, that the district level leaders are not being able to handle situations or allowing them to get out of hand, and the communal violence that happened, in which 2 people died and 1 person died in police firing. All of this is very, very concerning. And I have been saying this over and over again in the context of Murshidabad as in earlier contexts, that all communal riots of any kind are instigated.
This is not, once again, this is not technically a communal riot. This is what would rather suit the definition of a
it is communal in
program.
nature, which is what I have been hearing Shatarupa, you and the other lady from the political analyst, who is obviously a Trinamool person, talking about. Very clear indications in your discussion that up to now, which I have heard very carefully, that this is a communal outbreak. This is what we are hearing. Communal because Hindus were attacked, Hindu temples were attacked, Hindu women were attacked, Hindu houses were identified. By whom? A Muslim. And who is the man who is leading it? A Muslim. Therefore, let's not get into whether this is by nature a communal outbreak. It is.
No, I was only objecting to the word riot.
I don't think you should.
No. I was only objecting to the word riot because riot tends to suggest two-sided violence. In this case, it wasn't two-sided.
Let us use the word outbreak if you have objections.
Sure.
Right? Now, communal riots, communal outbreaks are always instigated, is my view. And that is the view of all senior politicians in this country to whom you will speak, except when they are in public.
Okay.
Then they will get into the blame game, which is fair enough. That is their politics. Because politics in India today, including in West Bengal, has become so communally polarized that crimes, and this is a crime, murder is a crime. You kill somebody, it is a crime. Then we are not talking here about a crime which has been committed against two people. We're not talking about the crime of homes and shops being burnt. We're talking about the communal nature of the crime.
Right.
Therefore, this is a polarization that we have to live with.
Okay, polarization aside, Pratham Ranjan Bose, is the rhetoric for Mamata Banerjee herself not to blame for this? Yes, there will be people who are polarized. Yes, there will be people who are upset. Yes, there will be people who want to break law and order. But ultimately, it's the responsibility of state governments to send the message that we will not tolerate it. What is the message that was sent to the Muslim community in Bengal?
For last 10 years, the message that was, and very unfortunately so, and even some people within the Muslim community have protested against it. They are smaller in section, like the person who was beaten up for hoisting the national flag. So he is a Muslim person, he is a teacher. So for last 10 years, the message that the government has given is that everything is permissible over here. And if we just look back, there had been endless, these were referred as communal violence. These were not communal violence. They were, kind of mobbing, serious cases of mobbing and almost one-sided violence. Most of the cases. Kalia Chowk, Beldanga, Bashirhat, Barasat, and Dhulagar. I can just take names. And if you have seen the cases opposing Durga Puja, opposing or creating trouble during Durga Puja, on the singing, playing of songs during Durga Puja, in Calcutta itself, opposing Saraswati Puja, these things are happening on an increasing note. So these are not just, exceptional cases, no
not at all.
Case.
Not at all.
I would like to, ma'am, you have got your time. Let me finish. Let me finish,
15 seconds,
now,
sir. I have run out of time.
It was a program. It was a clear program. And what happened, it is shameful. The chief minister is the police minister. She must take the responsibility.
Okay.
Each of these persons, the councillor, the MLA, the report mentioned about an MLA who saw and then moved away.
Yes.
Looked other way. There was a police station. In one case, there was a police station within 300 meters. There was a case where people called police station and they didn't pick up for 2 days.
Absolutely. So, this is why I ask. The response even to this violence, has it been sufficient from the party in power or the government? Because that sends indications to people on ground on what they can get away with or not. I have to leave it at that. I do thank our guests for joining us. Certainly needs more debate, the consequences of this Murshidabad violence. Thanks a lot for watching. The Right Stand is coming up on Yes.
Co-powered by This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Minister Amit Shah had also congratulated the forces for the anti-Naxal operation that have been taking place not just in Chhattisgarh but also Telangana. But remember, today is very critical when it comes to the gun battle that's taken place. Anshul joins me on the phone line. Anshul, take us through what the Prime Minister's greater message is, A, and B, how historic this operation will be and how it will go down in the annals of history as far as today's anti-Maoist operation is.
Definitely shows the importance of this entire operations that have been carried out by our security forces. And remember, this is not just a one-day operation. This is almost after a battle of 3 decades that for the first time, our security forces has been able to reach to the heads of these Naxals, the people who plan and plot these dastardly attacks on our security forces. And for the first time that we have been able to reach and get their heads back. So this is definitely a big success for our security forces, and that is what the Prime Minister and even the Home Minister wants to say, because the magnitude of this entire operation is something that is very notable. Talking about this specific operation that was carried out, in fact, the preparations for this operation was going on for more than 3 weeks. Specific intelligence inputs were collected that most senior leaders of the Maoist groups will be collecting over here in Narayanpur for a very important meeting, and it is at that point when all these leaders reached over there that our security forces brought in the element of surprise and carried out this entire encounter, in which 27 Naxalis have already been killed, including the top head of the Naxals, Baswaraja, who was a very dreaded Naxal operating out here in our country. The 70-year-old man was actually involved in the Kachorili blast that happened in 2019, and since then a massive manhunt was launched against him. In fact, the government had announced a prize money of ₹1 crore on his head. A bounty of 1 crore was in fact announced on his head. So definitely this is a massive success, and very a movement which is not only very historic, but a movement which will make the entire security forces and citizens of the country very proud as well.
Absolutely, and Anshul, important to also highlight and share what the Union Home Minister has had to say. Amit Shah has gone on to talk about how after Operation Black Forest, over 80 have been, in fact, over 80 have surrendered and 54 have been arrested as well. And this also is pertaining to states apart from Chhattisgarh. You're looking at Telangana, you're also looking at Maharashtra.
Well, definitely, this is very historic and a very big very big move, because if you see the manner in which this entire operation is being carried out, especially from the last 6 months, and the focus of the government has been very clear that India should be Naxal free by 31st March 2026, and that is the reason why such massive operations are being launched. Remember, a very important point to note over here as well, that even during Operation Sindoor, when the top bosses of all our security forces were actually involved in negating the threat that was incoming from Pakistan, the top officers of CRPF, the DG of CRPF, was still stationed in Chhattisgarh, making sure that the Naxal operations that are underway, that should not be hampered in any way or any manner. 57 Naxals have already surrendered in this operation itself. A few days ago, another massive operation was carried out, in which our forces stayed in the hills of Chhattisgarh for more than 21 days, and in that as well we were able to neutralize at least 32 Naxals. So the operations are in full point in time, and the threat is so much so for the Naxals that they are now pleading the government to come and have a dialogue with them. But the aim and the motive of the government is absolutely clear, that there will be no talks until and unless Naxalites are absolutely wiped out from the face of a country's map.
Anshul, to talk about today's operation particularly, how landmark is it, given that in 3 decades, the first time forces have in fact gunned down a General Secretary ranked Maoist leader?
Well, definitely, this is very historic. As you rightly mentioned, it has happened for the first time in 3 decades that the Indian armed forces and the Indian security forces have in fact been able to reach on the top bosses of Naxals. Because remember, these people, the top bosses of these Naxalite groups, actually stay hidden, actually stay absolutely underground. Their movements are absolutely protected by their forces as well. But the manner in which we have been able to gain that intelligence about their whereabouts at a time when such an important meeting was about to happen of top Naxal heads, this is first a victory of the intelligence Bureau of India and the local intelligence that was collected from on-ground sources by the CRPF and other agencies who are deployed on the ground, and then acting on that intelligence in such a manner that it became an absolute surprise for all these Naxalites who were meeting today again to actually plot some sort of action that they could take against the security forces of the country. Definitely, this is a very, very historic a feat that has been achieved, a feat that will be remembered by generations to come, because over the last 3 decades, there have been gun battles, there have been encounters that has happened, but this has generally happened by the
Namaste, Jai Hind, and welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. I'm Anand Narsimhan, and we begin this midweek edition with some exclusive news inputs that are being shared by Manoj Kumar Gupta on how Pak and especially the ISI are cultivating spies like Jyoti Malhotra. Now here's the act of treachery that now comes to the fore. The Kartarpur Sahib corridor, hailed as a historic religious initiative, has allegedly become a covert theatre for Pakistan's Inter-Services Intelligence, or the ISI, to wage a new form of hybrid warfare. Intelligence sources claim that the corridor is being systematically exploited to identify, recruit and groom Bharatiya citizens, including influencers like Jyoti Malhotra, to act as ideological assets and informants under the veneer of religious outreach. Sources are